Okay, welcome to this episode's Friday Flex. We have your hosts, Keith and Joseph.
Wave.
And E-Man. Come on, go wave
Wave at the people.
to the good people. Right there. You see? Yeah. It's all right. Eat your cookie. All right, so today we bring to you the topic of jump roping to conclusions. And
Jump roping.
like the Olympics to jumping in conclusion, like high vault.
Is jump roping an Olympic event?
It should be.
I know it's an event in general.
Yeah.
Because if you really think about it, this may even be inappropriate to say.
Okay.
But you know what? I'll just keep it as crisp and clean as possible, like a bag of Eagle brand potato chips.
Okay.
Gotta take it back there. Is that there actually is an event, not in the Olympics, but there actually is a competition for jump roping. And these jump ropers, if that's what they're called, I don't know the technical name for jump ropist,
Yeah.
but it's far out.
Yeah.
You got to go to YouTube, pull it up, and they actually do compete in jump roping in different places. Like, talk about getting either the youth off the streets, so they're not doing, drugs or some physical activity. And of course, they have different ages too.
Yeah.
And so they got speed ropers, they got the double dutchers, they got it all. It's far
speed
out.
ropers, yeah.
It's far out. So it may not be in the Olympics, but hey, you know what? You know how there is the circus, and then there's the Soul Circus, the Universe Soul Circus. I went to when they came to Detroit.
I never went to one.
Oh, it was great. Like there should be, yes, an Olympics, but there should be like a Soul Olympics. Like just people with soul having an Olympics. You know how far that would be? The music, everything.
Yeah.
Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Oh, yes.
She got cookie juice on you.
Hey,
you got that cookie batter on you.
Oh.
It's all on your arm.
Oh, I see it all over your arm.
It's on your bicep, too.
Oh, no. You just want to share the love with everybody, don't you?
Wipe it off your shoulder, bro. Wipe it off your shoulder, bro. Yeah, that's called creativity right there.
Oh, she got daddy real good.
She got you. Oh, and she eyeballing me. Look at her.
She's like, you next.
Yeah, you next. Don't think you're innocent. Oh.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, let's make sure that, oh man. Pass me, there's a wet napkin out in that bag.
The gray one?
Yes, please. It looks like easy, even better. Ah, yes. So these are handy, all right?
That's why they're called handy wipes.
Handy wipes, because we got them hands that wipe on everybody's items. But anyway, so today, jumping to conclusions, the soon-to-be Olympic event, because how good we are as a society, to jumping to conclusions with the most minimal information. And so, unfortunately, oh goodness, I know you don't wipe it on daddy, don't you? Yeah. It's dangerous.
That's arrowroot cookies for you, baby.
Yeah, made out of arrowroot.
I bet them bad boys are good. Only 20 calories. Dude, I need to invest in them bad boys.
Oh, you get 5 to 100 calories. Yeah.
Hey, you hear that?
You see that? 20 calories per cookie.
Man. I don't know.
Kids love it.
I'm not going to embarrass myself in front of everybody.
Would you like that?
I'm good, man. I'm not going to do it. Oh, it'll fit into my caloric intake for today. I can easily eat those today. That's not an issue at all. I eat that whole bag. The man would be looking at me like, oh, no, you didn't. I'm going to wash it down with that milk, too.
Oh, yeah. This is the finest of formulas. This is the finest of formulas. Yes. Mm-hmm. So, jumping to conclusions. So I will admit, I recently jumped to a conclusion that I found myself having difficulty facing the reality. And as some of you all may know, to the Olympics.
Button your shirt.
Oh, my shirt's stomach jumped to a conclusion. It wants to bust out.
Like Rick James.
Give it to me, baby. So, speaking of the Olympics, I had a recent situation in which I jumped to a conclusion in which later the truth, the reality, the actual situation came to light. And I even was involved in spreading misinformation. And this is a vulnerable moment right here because most people in society don't own up to what they do.
Oh, you got them good, girl. Give me a high toe on that one. No, that's your baby. I'm just the bodyguard.
So
you got your daddy good. It's okay. You can be happy.
Yes. So very seldom. Oh, don't get in your hair. Gosh, it's a messy business. This is the joy of child rearing: is that you will have a child in which will eat and then rub their hands in the mouth and then their hair and then on your jacket. But I guess that's just how it is. So please sit in your chair. All right, so so yes, very seldomly will people take responsibility of a mistake, nor or even fewer. It's like a threat. I get you. Or even fewer will say, I was involved in misinformation. And to get to the point, what had happened was, in the news, in the media, there was, in the women's boxing competition, you had the news article, transgender beats, biological female. And of course, I was thinking to myself, alas,
Sorry.
this is terrible. How could, oh gosh, how could, girl, this affects your daddy's brain. Yes. Don't wipe it in. Oh, this is diabolical business. All right. Okay.
Smile. Smile for the camera. Go ahead, smile for the camera. Smile at your daddy.
See, and I think this is why, hopefully.
I think the little fruit ones may work a little better.
These worked a lot better.
Oh, that one?
Because these don't have the ability to become
like a paste.
Like a paste. These can't become a paste. Yes.
Because I know those. That's the fruit one. Yeah. Oh.
Yes. Don't lose that one.
It's not emotional damage, but
Yeah.
So banana and banana.
So on the social media platform, what was said was that this unfair fight had happened, and that are these threats? That what's happening right now, these threats?
Not threats, these are guarantees.
Guarantees.
He's gonna lay some hands on you.
These are
See? Oh,
nothing. Come on, babe. Come on. Okay. All right. Anyway, so the media portrayed like, hey, there's a unfair fight happening in the Olympics, right? Mm-hmm. And I told Joseph and the other young gentlemen in my office. I said, hey, this is what's going on in society right now at the Olympics. Hey, and I felt confident at the time that what I was saying was correct, right? Mm-hmm. And so I was spreading it as if it was correct, sharing my frustrations. Hey, take that. And days later, I was seeing these articles. It's like, oh, actually, no, this is a woman. She just has excess amount of testosterone, and
because both males and female will have some level of just so that everyone is aware of that. They wouldn't have a little bit of each, but
but this
person that you're describing had, you're saying, more testosterone.
Yeah, which gave some more masculine appearance. Right.
Did that individual have both male and female reproductive organs?
Just female organs. Because at first it was like, oh, they have both.
Because there are individuals that do have, both. That's a real thing. I can't remember the exact correct name for it. I can always look it up.
Hermaphrodite.
Hermaphrodite, yeah.
Yes. And so I was thinking, oh, they have both. So I guess they could be either. So it could join either competition. Right,
like an earthworm, they have both.
Do I guess I'll say that science question for later. And then
no, they need another one in order to.
I was thinking seahorses, but seahorses.
So a seahorse, in short, super quick, seahorse. Seahorse, you have a female and you have a male. The male seahorse simply just have an extra pouch. You know how sometimes you see dads with a little pouch in front of them, just in general, to carry the baby?
Yeah.
Like they have just one of those, so then all the, little eggs go in there, and the baby seahorses are, staying there and come out like that.
Gotcha. Okay.
But they're not like, giving birth in that sense.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
Yeah.
So
they just protect the eggs. That's what they're doing.
So days later, it's like, oh no, there's not both parts. There's just one part, the female part. And
I wonder how she's able to increase her testosterone.
I don't know. Good
squats.
Good to find out.
Lunges.
Boxing. Yeah. They say exercise, helps create more testosterone.
I guess that's what the TSA was trying to figure out.
He seems like he's working out. Got some weight on him. So what ends up happening is the news outlets changed their story, and the story that's changed is actually this was a fair fight, and you had people who, more, okay, yeah, we say more. You want to more? All right. Here. More. Mm-hmm. I like how you don't even look at it. You just grab, looking at Uncle. Okay. All right. Fine. And so I had to then in turn recant everything I said, about how unfair and how despicable and how all these things that I originally thought, based on the little information that was given, the biased information from different sources and so forth, until the actual truth came out. And I'm thinking, oh, this person must have felt ridiculed and And so as I'm thinking about how devastating it must be to her, I'm thinking to myself how irresponsible it was for me to not verify, like completely verify something before I shared it, right? Thank you. Right. Daddy's working on it. And I realized how often in society we do that. You know, we have very minimal information, and without understanding the details, we see something at what we think is face value, but it's actually
Wait, there's more to this.
Yeah, but it's actually our own impressions, our own, faulty, or our lenses to our vision, or our consciousness, our awareness. And and so, yes, you want to wave to the camera? Yeah, you want to wave to the camera? I got a comment. So I came to listen to the talk, but stay for the sweet baby in the back. She has a lot to do. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Hi. Okay. Is this for putting your handprints on Daddy? Is this gonna have to go to the dry cleaners? Okay. But yes. Okay. All right. You want out of this? Okay. Let's get you out of here. Let's get you out of here. Get you some freedom. Mm-hmm. All right.
But as you're pointing out, that a lot of times we have some information that's presented to us, but from our perspective, it may seem to be one way because of the lenses.
Right.
Maybe faulty.
Yeah, and one of the things that my wife and I do is we're working on making reflective listening a part of our communication, especially in like difficult situations, because it's easy to have yes, it's easy to have a experience in the past and superimpose that to the current experience, even though it's with a different person or it's a completely different situation.
We call that generalization in the NLP.
Yes, with generalization. And with this, generalization, we tend to think that, this is exactly what I experienced before, or this is exactly what they're saying before, without actually asking, is that what you meant? And we don't do that. And so, as I mentioned, so Ebony and I will say, so what I hear you say is X, Y, Z. And if it's like, no, I didn't say that, then it allows the person the opportunity to say, please explain what you were saying. A girl? Hey, get it together. And so it allows that other person to have the opportunity to explain themselves much better. And if one has selective hearing, then it allows them the opportunity of reflective listening, allows them to work on that selective listening, because now it's like I have to repeat what I heard. And not only do I have to repeat it, but I have to say it as closely to reality as possible, closest to that person's, perspective. And by doing that, then I'm actually I'm being considerate, because if I'm not asking for, hey, what did you mean by that? Or please explain more, or this is what I heard. Then if those questions aren't being asked, then it means that, I don't really care what you were trying to say, but this is how I felt. This is how I felt about what you were trying to say, or this is how I felt about what you said, or what I thought you did. And so, what were you gonna say something?
No. I was just listening to all the little points that you're making.
So yes, Daddy's gonna. That's all. Yes. See, we need the little strap thing, so you can't throw it, because you're gonna throw it inevitably. It is just in your nature right now to throw things, because you know Daddy's gonna pick it up. You know it's gonna happen. So, anyway. So there was a situation in which, without going into detail, I mentioned this before. I mentioned this before in about 2 decades ago. It's crazy to say that, right? 2 decades ago, I'm in a relationship, and I come to I only have very little information about a situation. And because of my insecurities, without even asking for clarification, I just assume. I just jump to the conclusion as if it is like I'm hopscotching, And so I'm trying to get to 3, and then 4 and 5, and my partner my girlfriend at the time was just baffled, like, where did you come up with this? And I'm left there like, after I've made a fool of myself, right?
Assume.
After I assume me. And after I do that, and I take a second to breathe, she's like, I never want to hear from you again. And I'm like, wait a second, that didn't go how I planned. I'm supposed to say that. You took that from me. Wait a second, that's
my line.
That's my line. I need to be angry, And after some considerable time, I realized, shoot, I jumped the gun. I messed up, as Jim Rohn would say. And how many times can we, in an honest way, say we've jumped to conclusions without even having, without even trying to put ourselves in the other person's shoe? Or even trying to recall or confirm, hey, is this what you were doing, right? Because go
ahead, say your thought.
Because we can see something, but we may not know. Oh, she got some velocity. You can throw some distance, go some distance. But if you see how relaxed this is really relaxed right now. Oh, and she get the head shake. Okay. So
wait till you start rolling them eyes.
Oh man, it's happening. What was I saying? But yeah, you see something that you think somebody's doing, and you just assume this is what is being done without asking them. Like, for example, if, let's say, you had done something the other day, and I assumed, oh, this is what he's doing, and then you explain, like, actually, I'm just really tired, or I think you say I'm hungry or something like that. Haven't eaten, low energy. And I'm thinking, I'm jumping to conclusions in my mind, like, why is he not doing that and so forth? And then you kindly explain, oh, this is actually what's going on. So then I could say to myself, oh, okay, chill out. This is not what you think. This is not the reality. This is what you think reality is, but this is actually not reality.
NLP actually talks about that in terms of how every individual, we all have senses, obviously, eyes, ears, nose, mouth, and so forth, and that we are acquiring information and acquiring knowledge through those senses, and how all of that information, as it's there, and we're trying to process it and store it in different ways. Some of us may have a clear understanding of something, or it just may be a reality, but only in our own head and not the correct reality in terms of what is actually taking place. So we all have our own, you could say, perspective or spin on things. Mm-hmm. But one thing that I was thinking about, the reason why I was chuckling is because there are, and I'm not quite sure if this is the correct way of saying it, but there are some possibly considered special cases where the assumption is actually right. And even though someone may make an assumption, most likely it's going to be right. Mm-hmm. But I was giggling because there's also that aspect of everyone is innocent until proven guilty. Uh-huh. But a lot of times that person proves themselves to be, guilty. Mm-hmm. So, like, for example, to call an honest person a thief, that's wrong. Right?
Right.
We make some assumption and didn't know the full detail of the whole situation. And as a result, that was actually an honest person, and we're calling him a thief or whatever, right? But if we call a thief, that's not wrong.
That's right. Right.
And when all of the research and investigation is complete, you see, the person is truly a thief. Like, you weren't wrong with your assumptions. So I was just thinking, and that's why I was giggling, that everyone is innocent until proven guilty. One thing that I also was thinking about as you were pointing out reflective listening, and I'll explain a little bit further.
The laying of hands.
The laying of as they say en français, tête à tête, head to head.
Head to head.
So, there is, of course, you were mentioning reflective listening, and you were pointing out a very nice detail, which you were pointing out that when we're reflective listening, we have to repeat, obviously, what the person is saying.
Right.
But then try to get it as close to what that person's reality is. Mm-hmm. From what that person's perspective is. Or at least you were saying something to that effect.
Right.
And so and I'll just share this thought here. When I think of reflective listening, I think, actually, I'm not even going to say I think. It's not even, I don't need to think. It's just truly how it is that deep listening is where it's at.
What's deep listening, Coach? So,
deep listening would be to the effect of, let's say two people are in the room together, right? Two or more, whatever. Mm-hmm. And one person says, "Are you thirsty?" Now, person A, we'll call him person A so we don't get anything confused. So person A says, "Are you thirsty?" to person B. And then if person B is listening deeply, then person B could understand that the person who is person A's question is not truly that they think that I'm thirsty, but actually most likely they're thirsty.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if everyone comes across certain things of that nature, but it sometimes can be rather subtle, like you don't notice it, but actually person A may present a question or may present something, but actually they're referring to themselves. Let me give you an example. It's maybe a slightly intense example, but I will just give it quickly here. So a few days ago, I was actually came across this, either it's a video or something, but it was a story that was briefly narrated. And I shared it with you, but I'll just really briefly narrate it here. And basically, a young man had just got out of the, just completed his mission or his term or period of time in a war. So he was able to go home basically for a moment, and he gave his parents a call, letting them know that, hey, I'm just been released from duty and that I can come home. And I have a friend that I want to bring home with us to live with us. And he's an amputee. He had stepped on a landmine and, lost some limbs. And so I want him to come live with us. So the parents said, well, son, we're happy that you're able to come home. This is going to be great. In regards to your friend cannot live with us, but we will help your friend get a home, get a place to stay. So the son told his parents, no, I really want our friend to live with us. And, that's it. I want him to live with us. We're not going to find him some other home. And the parent said, well, son, being that your friend is an amputee, he will be a burden on us. And we have our own lives to live. So your friend cannot come home, cannot live in a home with us. So their conversation wrapped up, it ended. A few days or so later, the parents received a phone call from the police, and the parents flew from, let's say, Midwest or somewhere to California, and they were asked to identify the body, and come to find out that their son was actually an amputee and had committed suicide, based off of the parents' answer that an amputee would be a burden onto them and they have their own lives to live. So when I heard that story, whether it's true or not, I don't know. That's why I'm calling it a story for right now. But the son who had asked and presented it the way he did as having a friend, he didn't say that it was him that was an amputee. He said he had a friend that was an amputee. So with deep listening, being able to understand that the person who is sharing something with me, although they may say, I have a friend, they could very well be actually referring to themselves. And that if the parent had the ability or skill to pick up on that message, then perhaps the parent's response would have been maybe a little different. And instead of the parents saying that, they would be a burden onto us, and that we have our own lives to live, maybe the parents would have said something different if they could understand that. But when I was thinking about this particular story, and of course the parents, and of course the son, who is an amputee, sometimes as individuals, depending on the depth of that relationship, sometimes we may, just like a swimming pool, we simply test the water with our big toe before we jump all the way in. Sometimes one may test the water with certain examples or certain scenarios or so before they fully reveal or share everything that may be there in their heart. So so sometimes, not sometimes, it's just that there has to be some obviously there has to be different steps taken in a relationship so that it grows deeper, so that there is that trust, so that there is that depth and connectivity and so forth. And of course, communication is obviously very important, so that when one is speaking and sharing the heart, then the other can actually understand, like, oh, gotcha, and it's not something that happens overnight. So let me just be clear. That's not something that's just like anyone can just do that. For those who are really good at it, I mean, who knows? They've probably been doing that with that person or group of individuals for a length of time, right? But just point out that when we do deep listening, it allows them to actually have a deeper understanding of what this person is really saying. Just like when we read some of these ancient scriptures and texts, how there's a deep message in there. You can get like the surface answer. Like, for example, sometimes we may come across a statement such as in regards to intoxication, right? How one should not indulge in any form of intoxication. Right. So many of us, just being honest with ourselves, would think, okay, no alcoholic or, intoxicating beverages, no form of smoking, stuff like that. But then if we further dive into it, we can also come to an understanding eventually. It may not happen at that moment, but eventually we may come to an understanding that even anger could be a form of intoxication, where one's ability to reason is impaired. So in like a fighting match, if you can, or even basketball, this is most common, especially in inner city, like in inner city Detroit, when we used to play basketball in the streets, it was always to your advantage to upset and irritate as much as you can the person who you are assigned to check. If you can annoy the mess out of them, irritate them, get them upset and frustrated, then they will always mess up. They will never be able to stay focused in the game. And then you can always either steal the ball from them or whatever it is, because again, they're not able to reason properly because they've become intoxicated by anger. So you're able to defeat them because you got them angry. Worked up, irritated. And this is just in street ball, basketball. And so as I'm backing out of this slowly here, is that with deep listening and reflective listening, when I think of that word, how it sounds, it's just simply reflective. So, of course, in my science-like brain is that reflective listening, what do I know about reflection? Right? So the moon reflects the light of the sun. Now we've all know what the sun feels like, meaning if you stand outside in the sunshine, feels good, one thing. But also if you stand in the sunshine for too long, especially when the sun is with intense rays, you can get a sunburn, right? But when you stand in the moonlight, I've never heard of anyone complain about getting a moonburn. It's the same light. It's being reflected from the sun, but it is not going to burn you the way sunshine will burn you. And why is that? The reason why is simply physics, is science, but to give you a simple word here is that reflective light is actually called polarized light. And that's why that's why polarized sunglasses work the way they do. Because when you're dealing with polarized light, you're only getting one aspect of those light rays or light waves. You're not getting the other direction that those waves come because, again, the light has been polarized. So with reflective light, again, you're not getting the full brunt, you could say, or the full spectrum of that light. It has a cooling effect. It's toned down. It's just one aspect, just the words, but it doesn't really convey even the heart and the emotion of the original speaker, you can say. So that's what I mean in terms of reflective listening. We can reflect and repeat what the other person said, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we actually can feel and deeply understand what the other person is saying. But when we combine deep listening with reflective listening, right? When we combine with those two combined, deep listening plus reflective, then we can say, I heard you say this. Like, let me make sure I'm hearing you correctly. I heard you say this, but I am also sensing that maybe you actually feel hurt. You know, like maybe someone may say something that may sound harsh, but then being able to say, but it also like trying to capture the emotion what that person's feeling as well, right? It's like, okay, I hear that you're saying this, but it sounds also that maybe you feel offended, or maybe you feel hurt, or that something else is also there. If you could dive into this for me a little bit more, you know what I mean? Then that way, with the reflective listening plus the deep listening, it went that way, then we could actually have a much deeper, richer understanding and connectivity in that relationship. And thus, that will allow the relationship to actually grow, because that is actually so nourishing. Like, in all honesty, just to be straight up, when two people can actually share their heart, I mean, what does the great philosopher Teddy Pendergrass say? Just to love and be loved in return, that's the only thing that my heart desires. You know?
Come on,
just
Teddy.
appreciate the little things I do. Oh, you the one that got me inspired. Keep on lifting me higher. So good, you know. Loving somebody when somebody loves you back. And that, don't be looking at me like you don't love nobody back.
Yeah, clap.
And so, yeah, there you go. Give it up. That boy good.
Yeah, give him his flowers. Yeah.
Come on here, brother, dancing in the moonlight. But when two people can not only have the reflective, but also add deep listening with the reflective listening, my point is that will actually allow that relationship to go even deeper, you know. And that's really, at the end of the day, as individuals, don't we want relationships to grow? You know, like, I'm sure many of us want relationships to grow. It doesn't matter if it's, you know, between our parents, so you can say a parental thing, siblings, our spouses or significant others, friends. I mean, who doesn't want a relationship to grow, you know, and become rich and deep and meaningful? You know, if there's like a shallow relationship, then we feel so cheap, and then we feel used in a shallow, cheap, you know, relationship. But when there's something deep and you know that, wow, this person has my back, I got their back, and we communicate on such deep level and, like this, then in society we see that more people would want to come together more often, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Whereas, again, in those unique situations where when one does not feel that they're able to connect with another person, they feel that there is no one in the world with whom they could befriend or anything of that nature. They feel that everyone is against them or whatever of that nature. There's some people, unfortunately, have bad thoughts, that lead them to make bad decisions. But when we know that, we got support, just like we were telling the young man, the mentee, just letting them know, like, hey, in the words of the great philosopher Michael Jackson, you are not alone. We're all, working on personal development and so forth as well. So, feel free to reach out, call someone, let us know, if you feel like no one got your corner, got your back, let us know. Talk to us, we got you, we are family.
One of the things I think maybe don't put Daddy doesn't need a pacifier right now. Daddy's talking. Okay, thank you. So you mentioned deep community. Oh, that's what your goal was, just to get close, just so you can take it off.
See, that's deep right there, because you thought it was a pacifier, when actually deep underneath that, that's called deep listening right there.
This is called manipulation. You're too young for this, okay? No, this is no. This is no.
I can't help you on that one.
Yes. So I would say one could say deep listening is synonymous with intuitive listening.
Intuitive? What do you mean? Maybe I have to look that word up, just to make sure I'm not misunderstanding.
Yeah. So intuitive would be seeing beyond what.
If you say it from that perspective, yeah. Because it's almost like what I had mentioned in the earlier podcast, and we were talking about reading the literary works of another person, and one can do an explication to explicate. You have, in short, reading word by word, or you could say reading line by line. That's one way of reading something. The second way of reading something is reading in between the lines. And then the third way of reading something is reading beyond the lines. And reading beyond the lines, meaning that we have to have some connection with that person. And then we can have a deeper meaning or understanding. Just like, I'll give you one example, and I'm sure everyone can connect and relate to this all the way, is that if we read or take a word as it is, the word bad.
Who's bad?
We all know what the word bad means. It doesn't mean that it's something good. It's usually meaning that something is negative, right?
Right.
But if we are able to read between the lines, then we can see, okay, although the word actually is not a positive word, it means something bad, something negative, that actually the word is being used differently. And so that word is being used as a positive word, like this is a good thing. And then if we understand the person like Michael Jackson, and then when Michael Jackson says, who's bad?
Right.
Then now when we, again, looking at it from a third, reading that same word or taking the same word and taking it to like a third way of understanding it, who's bad, then it's like, okay, now that word has a even more interesting meaning aside from its definition or definition meaning. So bad in this case with Michael Jackson, oh yeah, that's a bad mother.
Shut your mouth.
I'm just talking about Michael Jackson.
But yeah, one of the things I wanted to also talk about, as you were talking about the story of the amputee, one of the things that the amputee was guilty of was passive communication. And because
that's what I mentioned there in that. Yeah. Because but I don't know the reason for it.
Yeah.
Because let's say if they were direct and said, I'm an amputee.
Yeah.
Right? Then that also could have a different,
Right.
outcome.
Right.
But then it depends on how much trust and confidence that the son even have in his relationship with the parents. So, but you're right. One can call that a passive way of communicating. But and that's what makes it a unique case study, kind of a story, because truly, what if the son was just like, let's say the son didn't even care about his relationship with the parents, and the son said, hey, just letting you know, I ain't got no legs.
Right.
Can I come home? And then just let the parents, go forward in terms of maybe they may say, no, we have our own lives, you'll be a burden on us,
right.
And they can say that, or they can say, oh, son, well, what do you need? Maybe we can make whatever necessary adjustments. So I agree that, in this case study, one could definitely say that, that he was passive in that. But the reason why, I don't know.
It reminds me of the situation in which happened maybe 40 years ago, maybe more than that. No, longer than maybe 50 years ago, in which you had, a guru and his disciple who were, the disciple asked the question of the guru, says, hey, if someone in the position of a monk or a celibate and has responsibility were to break or potentially think about breaking that, their responsibility, that vow, what should one do? And, the guru is thinking, oh, this is only a hypothetical question,
Right.
Then one should find this nearest river. And
right.
And so without the guru knowing that the student was actually talking about himself, he would have answered a different way if he would have known like this, because when it was found that the student actually thinking that those were his teacher's instructions to, take his own life, he said he was sad. He was like, why didn't he, just say what was going on?
Yeah. And that's I find that to be very direct, is that is what is missing in today's society. Meaning where people can actually, like for example, just in general, different relationships, most people are going to say, hey, how's it going? Other person's going to say, hey, how's it going? Or, hey, what's up? And the other person says, what's up? But no one really sits and talks to get to understand the other person. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, what's really going on? Like you're pointing out, like if the disciple was to really just say directly, hey, this is what's going on, But in that unique situation, the disciple actually has a responsibility because of that unique relationship. Mm-hmm. In terms of parents and children, depending on the type of parents that may be there, there's some parents who we know it. We grow up in certain households where you can't even talk to some people. They'll just pull out a belt. If you think or want to move in a certain way, they come after you with a belt. There's no conversation. So then the child may have a fear or hesitation to even say anything or share their heart because they already know that the parent's not even listening. Or the parent isn't going to just stop and take the time to even consider what the child is saying. But again, not saying that either one was right and wrong. That's why I said it's a great case study, because it's something that's like important to kind of look at. Even though I came across a few days ago, it's like it's important to kind of look at it from all the different angles. You got the passive communication, you got a lack of information. So then the parents, assume that based off of the information that was provided, they assumed that the child was talking about a friend and not that they were talking about themselves, So it's like there's so many things happening. And then, of course, what's deeper than that in the sense of what kind of relationship do the parents and the child have, Like, I know I can speak for myself, like if something was going on with me, then I know, okay, I can talk to my mom. Because I have that type of depth of relationship with her that if I share something with her, I know she's going to actually really listen deeply, and listen to me carefully. And of course, she'll ask various different questions, gain further clarification. But I know she'll listen deeply. And so, like, if I was to talk to my dad, he may not necessarily take that time to listen deeply, but he may either react or he may respond without giving himself a fair chance to, collect that information. And so his response will be completely different than my mother's response. And it's not whether it's a male or female thing. It's just to the degree in which that individual really wants to understand, So it's not even, again, a sex thing. It's just to what degree does someone actually really want to know, really care? But again, there has to be that communication. That's really the whole thing, is that if there is no communication, then everyone's just assuming, athletically assuming.
Olympic assumptions.
We're going for that gold medal and assumptions.
Yeah.
Because that's really, like, just for example, again, going back to even when someone says, you got it, then that only just leaves us to assume that that person's okay. Right? Just in walking past someone, we are left to assume that that person's okay because they said, you got it.
Yeah.
And we don't even know what that person is going through, what thought they may have in their head. They could be thinking about doing something
goofy,
rash, something goofy to harm themselves.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then you hear about it on the news and you think to yourself, man, I just asked that person how he was doing. He said, you got it.
Yeah, I thought I had it.
I thought he had it. And I'm not trying to make light of it because it's real. We really don't know what another person is experiencing, what another person is going through. And unfortunately, it's rare, or let me just say it this way, in a more accurate way, that there needs to be more of, like, really sitting down and actually having a sacred space where individuals are not distracted. I remember I used to have a conversation with someone. I thought it was a conversation, especially we were supposed to be talking about important things. And what is the other person doing? She's on her cell phone, yapping it up with her friends halfway around the world. And I'm thinking we're supposed to be actually having a very important conversation. This is supposed to be my significant other. And so because that space wasn't treated with respect, in terms of it's supposed to have been a sacred space for two people that have come together in holy matrimony, and that we're supposed to really, actually really take time to connect deeply and listen to each other, and not that one is trying to pick the other person apart and then use information later to judge them and tear them down. It's not that, but just to really have a deep understanding of each other so that we can see, okay, I see that you're working on this and that you're needing help in this area. So since I know I can handle that part, let me take like everyone coming together, working as a team, basically, and everyone's getting stronger and the whole team gets better and gets uplifted. And it's like, instead of that happening, you're just left like you feel shorted, like you feel like you've been slighted, you've been cheated out of a deep, meaningful connection in a relationship, something that was meant to be very beautiful and kept sacred, is no longer that at all. Simply because the other person allowed themselves to be distracted by being on the phone, texting, like that. So, so having that quality time, that bonding time, even when two things aren't even when both individuals aren't even saying anything, just like what you're doing right now, having that quality time with your daughter. Most people don't. Well, she knows it's subtle. She may not be able to put it in words, but it means a lot to her. So that deep, intimate connection like that is very important. Should I get some of these messages?
Yeah, please.
Let's take a look here. How Now how does this work?
Tap it. Oh.
Okay. Trying to read some of these comments here. Okay, so we read that one a little earlier. Madame Teriyami, she says, everyone's childhood follows them. And if a change needs to be made, it can take many years before it is. This little pop-up balloon came up. How do we get rid of that?
And just touch the screen again.
Touch it again? Should I touch?
Not just the screen.
Okay. Okay. Let's see here. So it can take many years before it is addressed. That is correct, Madame Teriyami. And Dr. Bruce Perry and actually Oprah Winfrey, they actually wrote a book about from 0 to 60 months, that is. That means from 0 to 5 years of age. And what one experiences, especially in those first 60 months of life in their current body, it does stay with them. Scientifically speaking, we understand that, and we all have seen dry skin before, so we know that we can lose skin cells. So the various different cells in the body get replaced anywhere from 7 to 10 years, okay? But the cells that do not get replaced, they're the same ones that we had since birth, is our nerve system. So the brain, spinal cord, and all the nerves. So like if someone has a nerve that's been severed in their arm or a leg, it's not like it just grows back or something like that. Like once it's cut, it's cut. So if you can't feel anything, just like when someone is paralyzed at childhood, for example, it's not like they get cured of that, So, so what everyone experiences, it actually gets crystallized into the nervous system, and it stays with them, well into their adulthood. As you rightly point out, it can stay many years before it is addressed. In fact, before it's even realized that one is dealing with those things. So, excellent point there, Milan Teriyami. Thank you very much for sharing. Now let's take a look and see. Yeah,
that was the last one.
that's the last one. Okay, I just want to make sure I got it all up. All right, Mother Teriyami actually gives another beautiful point. He says, it's not always easy to get one to open up and reveal their mind. Again, also another important point. As we see in the ancient yoga text, there's one sage by the name of Rupa, not RuPaul, just Rupa. Different person. And so Rupa actually speaks about 6 types of loving exchanges. To give a gift, receive a gift, to cook a meal from your heart and give that to a person, and to receive a meal that's been cooked from that other person's heart. And then the 5th and 6th exchanges are as follows: to reveal your heart in confidence and to seek advice. And these first 4 that was mentioned about giving a gift, receiving a gift, cooking a meal from your heart, and receiving a meal that's been cooked from someone else's heart, in short, points out that there has to be that foundation there in a relationship. It starts simple like that, exchanges of gifts. Then even the conversation, one may reveal some things that may be in their heart or in their mind, but they may not necessarily go into all of the depth of everything that they're experiencing. So there's always going to be this room for growth. And so in any relationship, again, it may not necessarily happen overnight, but there has to be consistency in terms of the communication, and yes, the reflective listening paired in with did you say it was intuitive? Intuitive, thank you. Intuitive or deep listening, pairing all that together, or you could say reading beyond the lines. Mm-hmm. And so in other words, explicating as well, even those conversations. And so that way, those 2 individuals can feel more and more and more comfortable with sharing even the deepest things within themselves. Of course, not every single person will share the most intimate thing that they may have in their heart. But that which they may be willing to share, at least as long as there's that regular practice of reflective, deep listening, intuitive listening, so on and so forth, then eventually one will be able at least to feel comfortable with at least one other person to be able to open up and reveal their mind and reveal their heart. But as you're rightly pointing out, it's not easy, especially. And that means that, what does it mean to be a friend? What does it mean to be a parent? What does it mean to be a lover or a significant other? When we talk about the different relationships, what does it mean to be a, friend, sibling? So you got servant, all these different relationships. Mm-hmm. It actually means that we actually have to put some work into it. And we cannot be afraid to put in some work. Every relationship, just like a garden, if you want a garden to grow, you got to put some work into it. If you want to get big muscles, you got to put some work into it. If you want to be healthy, you got to put some work into it. If you want to do good in your college classes or just classes in general, schoolwork, whatever like that, we all have to put work into it. And so we have to look, well, how important is this person to me? Because there's some individuals, I'm going to just tell you straight up, there's some people, I know there's one guy that says, I think they may even told you, I can't understand Swift, or he's not relatable, or this or that. or I can't get close enough to them. It's like, because I'm not interested in connecting with you. But again, it doesn't mean that that may be the case for every person, right? We meet so many people all the time. There's some people who we keep them closer to us. So one thing that is a good practice, maybe we can practice with, as we say, charity begins at home. So we need to practice with ourselves as well. Right? And what I mean by that is, I'll just simply say it this way. And of course, my mother, she knows how I am, so she has heard me say this before. But a lot of times, as individuals, we want others to listen to us, right? And so we should learn to listen to ourselves. We want others to listen to us, but we need to listen to ourselves. Or just like if you want others to respect you, learn to respect yourself. I was telling my mother, I said we should make a T-shirt. Instead of saying treat others the way that you want to be treated, treat yourself the way that you want to be treated. Actually, there's a quote, Nikki Giovanni. I'll have to look it up, but she was mentioning something actually along that lines. Is that something about treating yourself with value. So learn to treat yourself with value, and others will also learn to treat you with value. So very much in that vein is that if we want others to listen to us, we have to first make sure that we're listening to ourselves. We also have to make sure that we're respecting ourselves. And we have to learn to make sure we respect our own decisions. A lot of times as individuals, we say that we're going to do something, and then we don't even at all have any intention behind keeping that. And therefore, we don't even have any respect for the decisions that we make. And we find ourselves falling back into old patterns or falling into a rut. If you're from Michigan or from the Midwest, the Great Lake region, we all know what it's like to be stuck in a rut, in terms of in the wintertime. In your car, you're trying to rock that bad boy out of that rut, and you need someone to get behind your vehicle to help push you out, because it's not easy to get out of a rut, especially in all that snow and ice. So, but we have to make sure that we respect ourselves so we don't fall into old habits that were not beneficial for our own personal development, our own growth. And what to speak of relationships, as you actually were starting out early on, how in relationships, and that because there's a lot of assumptions, we happen to I use the word generalize because that was a word that's used in neuro-linguistic programming, NLP. But basically we start to have this thought that, I've had this experience before. This person is treating me the same way that others have treated me in the past, or something of this nature. So we tend to generalize, and then we just go forward with this assumption. But as you had rightly pointed out, when we inquire and we ask and we've learned in that conversation, even if it's just reflective. Now, I'll be honest with you, and there's some cases where you may not even want deep listening. Some people is not required. The reason why I point out deep listening is because when you want to have a deep, meaningful relationship with another person, deep listening and intuitive listening is very important. If you don't care about the relationship, if you work at this huge corporation, and it's just you and the other person, and you got a whole team, and you just need to make sure that everyone is clear on the same page, just reflective listening is enough. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need to go, it's not that deep. In other words, it's not that deep. But if it is a relationship where that person means a lot to you, or you would want that person to mean a lot to you, that they're a significant person in your life, then definitely intuitive, deep listening, being able to even read between and beyond the lines, that is a very beneficial, helpful skills, tools to have, so that when we are wanted to strengthen and fortify that relationship and actually pour into that relationship, invest in that relationship. Because when things become very difficult, just like you have a boat, and it doesn't mean that that boat out in the sea is going to experience the calm waters and the favorable winds, there will be storms. There will be waves that are 10, 20, 30, 40 feet waves or whatever. And it could be a very challenging time. But when we invest now, invest now, as those infomercials say, when we invest now in those relationships when things are calm, then when those tough times come up, then at least we have some foundation there.
Some sufficient balance of trust.
Yeah. Because otherwise, those rough seas, if you're not ready for them,
she dry out.
Man overboard.
Yeah.
You that thing. Yeah. If you're not ready for it, you're not ready for it.
Yeah.
Basically, it will. We've seen a lot of and heard of a lot of scenarios where something comes up as a challenge, an obstacle that a couple can actually come over if they work together. Yeah, overcome, come over, overcome, whatever's the best way of saying it. But because they didn't put the work in early on, that is, and they procrastinated, then what was really, and for some people, just a little bit of turbulence, appeared to be a whirlwind or a tornado for
crash landing,
and then they end up being a crash landing for other people. So when we put in that work, then we see what appeared to be an ocean simply shrinks down to just a little puddle of water that collects in the hoof print of a calf.
Yeah.
Meaning it's easy to overcome those things because we've already invested in that relationship. We got tons of money into the emotional bank account, We've invested so much. We even got stock, in the relationship.
Partnership in it.
Partnership, cryptocurrency in the relationship.
One thing I wanted to mention before we wrap up, this is a scenario which happened recently. Along the lines of the concept of jumping to conclusions. So, we have this mutual person that we know who, at one point was extremely supportive of us and so forth. And when this person had ulterior motives about what they thought the relationship should look like, they, as a way to save face when finding out that actually that's not what we're here for, then they become an Olympic jumper.
A pole vaulter?
A pole vaulter. What's the one they jump over the sand?
Well, that's that's long jump.
A long jump.
But pole vaulting is still a big jump. But it's not just long jump, but they really
it's a high jump.
Then you got the high jump, but then pole vaulting is higher than the high jump.
Yeah, so you got
but definitely a jumper.
Yeah, a jumper, like a cricket. And
with wings.
Locust.
Some things are crazy.
And so what happens is that this person, being an Olympic gold medalist, decides to assume what actually our purpose is in their life, or assumes that we don't care for them, that we are just I guess crude people, and without asking any questions, without trying to go deeper, right? The assumptions are the jumps are made, and they're so far off the mark that if you were to share, hey, actually that's not accurate, then the jumps will exponentially increase.
And they look like they're doing parkour.
Yeah. And while they're confident in their agility and their ability to long jump and high jump
And pole vault.
and pole vault
And parkour.
and parkour, they are literally hurting themselves because what's happening is that they are destroying or crippling a relationships which could have been empowering.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
That's a fact.
And to them, in order to save face, they continue jumping. Because in the jumps, there's safety. Then they got cushion. Fat cushion. And
Must be a cat. Lands on their feet, huh?
yeah. And so for those who are in that relationship, to see how someone is jumping to the conclusions without asking for more information, without clarifying, without wanting to hear the other side, you realize, oh, this person's not so mature. This person's actually, they're stuck. And because they're stuck, they don't want to become unstuck. They're just like a fly on the fly trap. They just keep wiggling. And they, yeah.
They have not, they remain in a fetal position. Like a fetus or undeveloped in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, larva.
Pupil. They still got a lot to learn as a pupa.
Yeah.
But excellent point, because in any case study, like the one, and we're just going to call it a case study because it really is a great one. But again, the intention. What is that person's intention? No one can read another person's mind. Therefore, communication is very important.
Very few can, but most can.
That's true. Cleo.
Call me now for your free reading.
But it's very difficult to understand the mind, even of a great personality. So, one's intentions, it's very important that as individuals, we have to come correct. If our intentions are wrong, like if we're not coming correct, our intentions are shallow, of some nature shallow, then we will remain shallow for the rest of our lives. We'll never have deep, meaningful, enriching relationships, empowering relationships. It will always remain miserable. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it doesn't matter where we go, even when we are in the best of opportunities. Remember how we were talking about in the previous podcast about missing opportunities? You could have the best opportunity right there in front of you for the most amazing experience you could ever want in your entire life, and could easily miss that opportunity, all because we didn't even come correct, even with our intentions. And so that individual, yes. And please note, when I say this, I'm also talking about myself as well. Because when I speak, I'm also thinking, what things that I can work on and so on and so forth. And always making sure that my intentions are right. One thing that I do is I ask myself 2 questions. Who is this really for, and what is this really about? I have to understand these 2 things. And that way I know, okay, I know what this is about. That way I can walk with confidence, as I'm moving towards my higher self or living in my highest truth. That way we live with intention. I can tell you a story about what happened this morning.
Your higher self or lower self?
Higher self.
Okay.
That's why when you came into office, you was like, what are you cooking?
Yeah.
It was oatmeal, baby.
Oatmeal.
Because there were some certain things that I'm working on 3 phases, and I won't go into all the details, but there's some changes I made. And so I was going to do one thing, but then I was driving down the road. Within 1 mile, I thought to myself, I said, what am I doing? Get a hold of yourself, Swift. Take your narrow behind back home, grab that oatmeal, bring a bowl, and then get to work. You'll be there on time, don't worry. And I have plenty of time, so I got here on time. But, I went with the higher self and went and got the oatmeal, So I know I didn't go into all the exact story and the details of everything, but the point is that we have to have intention, have intentionality, and we move in that direction, and we move in that truth, and we live in that truth, and be honest with ourselves.
And not just intentionality, but good intentionality, because
it has to be good. Because if it's not good,
it's devastating. The effects are
devastating.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So, thank you all so much for your time. It looks like we put the man to sleep with our shenanigans. So hopefully you all have found something relevant. And if I could just give one bit of advice, unsolicited advice actually, is that when you are having a difficult conversation with anyone, try to reflect on what they're saying and confirm what you hear them say, so that if you are correct in what you heard, then you can act accordingly. But if you're not correct in what you heard, then you can correct yourself. And through that, real communication can be developed. So you can check yourself before
one wrecks themselves.
Yeah.
But it also allows for love to actually be exchanged too.
Right.
It becomes it's another expression of love, actually.
Yeah, because if you say, if I thought that, you let's
stepped
say
upside down.
if I thought that you hung up on me because you're angry, but actually you hung up because you knew I was driving, didn't want to distract me. If I knew that was the reason, instead of just taking it personal. But actually you were like, oh no, I knew you were driving, so I wanted to make sure that you have full attention on the road. Then if I don't ask you, why'd you hang up on me? But I just assume you're being a jerk today, you hung up on me, or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Then it's like, actually, I wasn't. I was thinking, but you've already came to the conclusion, the wrong conclusion.
Right.
And now you want to complete this idea, this notion, like this is what happened, and therefore I'm angry with you.
Don't people do that?
They do it all the time.
All the time. It's like they're looking for drama.
They don't save it for their mama. They're looking for drama.
They always looking for it.
Yeah.
And that's something that as human beings, I mean, I know you give an example, but like it's a real thing though. As human beings, sometimes we don't realize that if our lives are not going the way that we wanted to, you know how sometimes people look for drama, kind of spice it up a little bit.
Exactly.
We see that even with celebrities, you know, even they be doing some stupid stuff, get a sex tape out there. Just so or do something stupid.
Stay relevant, yeah.
Just so they can, quote unquote, stay relevant, you know? And it's like, wow. But yeah, there's some people who actually thrive off of that. Like they get a thrill or experience some form of pleasure off of, you know, jumping to certain conclusions and so forth like that.
Yeah.
And which is sad because they don't realize that by doing that, that's really, they're distracting themselves from actually having a deeper, meaningful relationship with another person. Like they're cheating themselves out of a great opportunity, in short. But yeah, that's a whole nother conversation in itself, and I know time is limited, but it's real. It is a real.
Can you press that red button?
Real thing here. So, trying.
Uh-oh.
There it is.
All right. Girlfriend, go back to sleep. Woke up ready. Anyway, thank you so much for your time, and I hope that you enjoyed today's discussion. And until next Friday, as the man is doing,
Keep flexing. And make sure you get plenty of rest, too.
Wake up with your hands behind your head. Flex,
Yep,
huh?
wave at the people. Wave to the people. All right, everyone. Have an amazing day.
All right.
Your man's waving at you. Wave him away.